If it weren't for this man, you might not be alive today. If it weren't for this man, you might not be alive right now. It sounds like a bold claim, but it's true. On the night of September 26th, 1983, the world came closer than ever before to total nuclear annihilation. Just minutes, maybe even seconds, separated humanity from the brink of extinction. And at the heart of that moment was one man, Stanislav Petrov. Petrov wasn't a general. He wasn't a president. He was a lieutenant colonel in the Soviet Air Defense Forces, stationed deep inside a military bunker near Moscow, tasked with monitoring early warning systems designed to detect incoming missile attacks from the United States. This was the Cold War at its most dangerous point. The United States and the Soviet Union had built up massive nuclear arsenals, capable of destroying each other many times over. Every action was met with suspicion. Every signal was scrutinized. The world lived under the constant threat of sudden and total nuclear war. And then, that fateful night, Petrov's computer screen lit up with a terrifying message. 5 nuclear missiles launched from the United States heading toward the Soviet Union. The alarm sounded. Red lights flashed. Protocol demanded that Petrov immediately report the attack, triggering an automatic response launch Soviet missiles in retaliation within minutes. But Petrov hesitated. Why just 5 missiles? If the US had truly launched a first strike, wouldn't it be hundreds, maybe thousands, of missiles? Why would the system detect so few? Something didn't feel right. The early warning system was new and untested under real-world conditions. Petrov knew the technology could fail. He wrestled with the decision. His heart raced. On one hand, obey orders, report the strike, save the Soviet Union by launching a counterattack. On the other, risk acting on false information and starting a war that could destroy the world. After tense moments, he chose the latter. Petrov decided not to report the attack. He labeled it a false alarm. Minutes passed. No explosions. No missiles fell. No warheads detonated on Soviet soil. The warning was a mistake. The satellite system had misinterpreted sunlight reflecting off clouds as missile launches. Petrov's gut instinct saved humanity. For decades, the world didn't know his name. He wasn't celebrated as a hero. In fact, the Soviet military criticized him for breaking protocol. Yet, without his decision, millions if not billions would have died in a nuclear holocaust. Stanislav Petrov quietly lived his life in obscurity until the late 1990s. When his story was finally revealed by journalists, he received peace awards in Germany and the United States, but remained largely unknown in his homeland. When asked why he made that critical decision, he simply said, "I just didn't want to be responsible for starting World War III." This story reminds us that sometimes the fate of the entire world rests on the judgment of one person, not a politician, not a military commander, just one man, sitting alone in a bunker, trusting his instincts against the machines and protocols designed to control him. If you're alive today, watching this video, it's because Stanislav Petrov trusted his gut, because he chose silence over noise, because he chose peace over panic. Remember his name, share his story, because sometimes the greatest heroes are those we never hear about. After that night in 1983, life for Stanislav Petrov went back to what seemed like normal. But normal was a fragile illusion. The weight of what could have happened pressed silently on his shoulders. He never sought fame or recognition for his choice. In fact, for years, the incident remained classified, a secret hidden deep inside the Cold War's shadowy archives. Why did Petrov's decision matter so much? Because the Cold War wasn't just a geopolitical standoff. It was a terrifying game of high-stakes poker, where one wrong move meant global destruction. Both the United States and the Soviet Union had enough nuclear weapons to wipe out humanity multiple times. The strategy was called mutually assured destruction, or MAD, a grim calculus designed to prevent either side from striking first. But it was also a system riddled with tension, fear, and uncertainty. Every early warning system had flaws. Satellites could be fooled by natural phenomena. Computers could misinterpret data, and humans had to make split-second decisions with imperfect information. Petrov's calm, cautious judgment in that bunker was a beacon of hope. He refused to let cold machinery dictate the fate of millions. Instead, he trusted his intuition and experience. Imagine the pressure. Imagine the knowledge that your decision alone could ignite nuclear war. Yet, Petrov acted with courage, quiet, measured, and profoundly human courage. The aftermath of the incident was complicated. The Soviet military criticized him for not following protocol. They feared the incident would expose flaws in their early warning systems. Petrov himself was never fully recognized by his own government. However, outside the Soviet Union, people began to learn about the event. International peace organizations praised him as the man who saved the world. Documentaries and books were published. Petrov became a symbol of how one person's judgment can prevent catastrophe. In interviews, he remained humble. "I did not see myself as a hero. I was just a soldier doing my duty." But sometimes you have to listen to your gut, even when the rules tell you otherwise. His story reminds us that behind every system, behind every protocol, there is a human being, flawed, capable, and sometimes extraordinary. As we reflect on this story today, it's impossible not to feel both awe and caution. Awe for the bravery of a man who, against all odds, prevented a global disaster. Caution, because the systems designed to protect us remain imperfect. Technology improves, but human error and misjudgment can never be fully eliminated. Stanislav Petrov's night in 1983 serves as a stark reminder that peace sometimes depends not on machines or governments, but on the wisdom and restraint of individuals. So next time you think about history's great heroes, presidents, generals, revolutionaries, remember Petrov. Remember the man who did nothing, and by doing nothing, saved everything. Because in a world ruled by fear and suspicion, sometimes the bravest act is to pause, think, and say, "Not today," and that, Amit, is a story worth telling, one worth sharing, one worth never forgetting.